let's say somebody has is charged for offense code 1. That means that person has murdered someone, and this description fits into a group: violence against a person, and the person has been injured. That's the old offense subgroup. So the offense groups, they have new ones and they have previously grouped offense groups. So
Yeah,
the old
please give me a
category.
minute, please. Okay,
Sorry.
can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, I can hear you.
Yeah, please. Can you help with recording this session, please? Some people are asking
Yeah,
because
I've
I
already
think they
started
might not be able.
recording.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So the new offense, this thing. So we have the way the offense was previously grouped and the way it is now being grouped. So the
Please,
of
it's echoing.
I don't know why it's sending
The
back a feedback.
audio isn't clear enough.
Looks like
Is that
somebody's
someone is,
is
yeah, you need to mute yourself.
having the microphone.
Yeah, you need to mute yourself so that it doesn't send back an echo. Can we all mute our mics, please?
I think darling, maybe you should mute or something.
Okay, I think it's better now. So the previous offense is this violence against the person, and then newly it's now called homicide. So this was what it used to be called before. It used to be called offense against person, but now it's now called homicide. So each of these offense code, this one is multiple count. It means that somebody has performed offense 1, offense 4.1, and 4.2. So it means this is an homicide, and it was previously called an offense against the person, and the person was injured during that offense, and it's now being called homicide. So basically, each of the offense you ever come across has the way it's being described and the way it was previously described, and the new word we use in describing it now. Now some offenses, if you see the ones that have this, that has this asterisk, they don't have any previous offense group, but now they have a new one. So they were not grouped into any offense group category before, but because there were no offenses like that in the past, but now under new offense group and new ONS, you would see that you have violence without injury. So they have like a new category now. So basically, this first data set I'm sharing with you gives you an overview of what an offense code is, what it means, and when you have multiple counts of offenses, what it can be, grouped as. For example, now this one, when you see multiple counts, it's an homicide. So for now, you don't need to worry about offense code and offense. For me, I didn't worry about this at the start of it. I was worried about what I wanted to do was to understand my data sets, try to coin business questions from it, and then see how I can clean my data. If I'm able to clean my data, then I can make meaningful sense out of it. So for me, what I just did was to, okay, this is offense group, this is what each offense group means, and if there's no value, if there's no entry for this, it means that that offense does not exist before. And obviously these two will always have something, because if an offense did not used to occur before, it is now, if it's now like a record here, it means that it's now occurring and there's a name attributed to it. So this particular table is just giving you a full-fledged of what you want to go and meet in the second data set, so that when you see a particular offense code, you will be able to know from here what it means. So this is not the original data, like data you want to really work on. This one is just going to give you an overview of what your data set is about. So that's just the first data set. Now this one, which is the real deal, which is the main reason why we're here, is let me just zoom this in a bit, and I'm gonna increase this. So this is the real deal. Now there's an offense record from 2012 to 2023. That's 11 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, what we are expected to do is to understand what this data means. Honestly, I I, I actually like had the same fear you guys are having when I opened the data set. When I opened it, I closed it immediately because it just did not make sense. It looks like Arabic to me. But as I spent time to read column by column, I understood what each one means. So this financial year, this first one, I'm just quickly going to change this to an Excel table so that it becomes very easy for me to filter the columns. And also, I'm not expecting anything to happen to anybody's laptop, but if you want to like start working on this, I would advise that you have somewhere you always keep the record of what you've worked on, so that peradventure, if anything happens to your laptop, you will not like start from zero. I'm not praying that anything happens to my laptop, but it's just to be on the safer side. I wouldn't want what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks to just go down the drain in just one day, and I'll have to be writing mails and stuff to school to be explaining myself. I mean, I'll explain and explain tired, but no one is going to listen. So, just to be on the safer side, ensure that you always like save your code somewhere. You have little places where you could store your code. You have GitHub. GitHub is an online workforce interface where you can reposite your code, not just this particular assignment, every project that you've ever worked on. It's safe there. Nothing is going to happen to your code. But then this is not a GitHub class. It's just something I just wanted to chip in for us so that we will not lose our files if anything happens to our system. So now let's try to understand this particular data set. And yes, there's a class coming up organized by the data community on the 21st of this month on how to use GitHub. I'm going to be the one taking that session. So if you don't know what Git and GitHub means, I'd advise that you join that session so you can get yourself equipped. This is a tool that is particularly very useful for anyone that is doing software, and data is part of software anyway. So it's something that comes very handy when it comes to dealing with projects and collaborating with other people. But just like I said, this is not a GitHub class. So I'm just going to go back to the data set. So this is financial year, financial quarter, the first name, offense description, offense group, offense subgroup, offense code, and offense number of offenses. So I'm gonna start with the last two here. So this is offense code, just like we referenced from here. If we were doing Excel, we would have been joining these two tables together on what they have in common, which is this offense code, but this is an Excel class. So each of these offense code, this is the number of times in which some persons have committed that crime. So which means that you will only find one of this with this value, which is unique for, and then the month and the year. For example, in 2012, the first quarter, an action fraud offenses recorded by action fraud. So action fraud is a name of a force. For example, in Nigeria, I don't know, I kind of like some of us are from Nigeria. We have different we have Amotekun, we have blah 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 blah, all of those people. So that's what this first name means. These are the ones that they have in the UK. And the way the UK is, they have districts. So if I click on this drop down now, it will tell me the name of the district first names that we have. So you can see this has Greater Manchester, Hampshire, Humberside, Kent, Lancashire, and stuff. So this is to tell you that each of these offense forces or first names are synchronized with the environment where you are. For example, Greater Manchester. Like, even if we don't know about other places, at least we know about Greater Manchester. So all offenses committed in the whole of Greater Manchester will be handled by this Greater Manchester first name. That's what it means. So then the description, and then the group, just like we've seen it here, the group where it falls, and then the subgroup, and the rest is history. So if you click on this financial quarter, you see we have just four. So it means that the year is being divided into four equal months. The first one would be January, February, March, right? And then the second will be April, May, June, and then the third will be June, July, August, and then the last will be September, October, November, December. I guess I don't know, but you shall know how the whole year is divided, sha. I believe that we all know the start, sha, but yeah. So which means that for 2012 we are going to have four, and then it keeps going like that. So if you look at each of these data sets or each of these worksheets, you find that they have similar arrangement. So but then different data and different number of offenses, and the counts, they vary. So the first question you might want to ask me is, what do you want to do with this data? Now, looking at this data now, it looks like a lot to even like comprehend. I mean, I also opened and closed it the first time I got the data set. So the first thing you want to do is to create a warehouse for this data set, right? And I know that in the previous semester we did. Are we still together? I just want to know so that I'll not be talking to myself and stuff.
We are very much together.
You're not talking to yourself, don't worry.
I just wanted to, ensure that I'm not the only one here. So, so the first thing you want to do is to create a data warehouse for this data set. So, in the previous semester, we did SQL. What they taught us was SQL. They taught us SQL, SQL and SQLite, right? So we could use that to create the data set. That's not what I used, but I'm not going to tell you use what I used and stuff, but I'm going to tell you different ways to achieve the same goal I achieved. So for my own operating system, SQL, what's it called, Management Studio, the one they taught us in class, doesn't work on it because I use a Mac operating system, but it works on Windows, but it doesn't work on Mac. So I can't use that. I can only use what if you are using the same operating system as I'm using, you can only use Docker or MySQL. So I'm going to tell us how we can use each one of this. I don't think this session we're going to be able to finish this up today. It's just like what I feel like anyway, because there's so much to talk about and so much options to want to look at. So now let's talk about the first part, which is the database. So we have different options. Is that use SQLite? I would not recommend that anyway. Or use if you are using Windows, you use what's called MS SQL, which is Microsoft SQL Server. So what you would do, I don't use MS SQL because I use a Mac, like I said before. So what you would do is that you will go to, let me just show you what this looks like. So let's assume that this is your what's it called, your MS SQL. So you go ahead and create your database. The simple command to create a database is create database, and then the name of your database, let's say crime records or something, for example. Right? You create your database, and then you create your schema. Your schema is the structure of your database. So what you want to do is that now you want to, for example, create a database for this rec, crime, offense, referee. Want to create a database for this. So we want to create a schema for this database. A schema is the skeleton of your data, of your table. So which means the structure in which your table is going to go. Now I'm just going to copy this header so that I won't have to go back and forth. So this is what I have. Just going to click this.
Rukayat, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
I thought the lecturer said we shouldn't use my SQL. That
Yeah,
we
I
should
also
use
said the same thing. Okay, I
uh
said don't use SQLite. Okay, you can use any one that you are comfortable with.
no. He said I don't know. Other people can please help clarify.
Okay.
I thought he said we should use the SQL through Hadoop or Sparks. I
Okay,
don't know.
no.
Did I
Okay.
hear him correctly?
Pradeep takes you guys, but Anchal takes
Okay.
us, right? So he might have given you
Okay.
some hints on how to do it. But if there's one thing I know about data is that there are millions of ways you could do it and then achieve the same result. But
All right.
True,
for
true.
what
Yeah,
Anchal told us,
concerning what she said, I think that's what Pradeep said. If you used SQL Spark, that's Spark.sql, you're still fine. You're still on the right path.
yeah, sure. So, but what Anchal told us, because one of the things I asked Dr. Anchal is that, is it, can we just use just SQL and then run maybe use few of the tools that they have taken us. For example, if I wanted to do this the very like soft way, I would have just used SQL, just like I'm doing. I'll use SQL and then I'll use machine learning, and I will not even use Tableau or Power BI and stuff or any of those Adobe and Hive. And then she said no, that the assignment covers everything that we've been taught in the semester. So we have to touch base on everything that we have been taught last semester. So this is why I'm going through the first phase of using SQL. And of course, you can use any SQL of your choice. That's why I said you can use MySQL, you could use SQLite, you could use Postgres, you can use um, pa- um, SQL in Spark. You can use anyone, whichever one you are comfortable with. I'm only explaining this one with the one that we're taught in class, which is MS SQL. But you can use anyone that you. I cannot. Okay, I cannot make this so centered. For example, let's say you want to use Spark now. We cannot say okay because you want to use Spark, everybody has to use Spark, or because you want to use MS SQL, everybody has to use MS SQL. I'm just teaching us like a way we could create the database and connect it to whatever we want to use next. Do you understand? That's why I said even this session we can't take it just for just one day because there's just so much to talk about when it comes to this data set that we cannot finish in 2 hours safe. So the first thing you want to do is to create a database. So the database you want to use, I don't expect me. I did not even use MS SQL and I did not use SQLite. I didn't use my SQL. I used a different SQL entirely. Even we were not even taught that SQL in class. That was one I used. So I'm not going to say because I know that one better. I should not say everybody should use it. You just use whatever you feel comfortable using. That's just my own distance. So so you create your schema. So what does a schema mean? Which means that for each of these column now, there's a data type for each of them, which means that you have to assign values to each one. For example, this offense code now, you can see that it has number, it has what's it called, character, this forward slash, it has dot, it has alphabets there, right? So the data type that you want to use for it is the one that allows you to have alphabet and numeric. So the only data type rather that allows you that you can use is alphanumeric, and which is varchar in SQL. Or if you are using what's it called, Spark SQL, that would be string, right? So you use string or varchar in SQL and then you attribute any value. Maybe you know that the offense code is going to be maybe 30 characters long or whatsoever. So just assign the value there. I don't know. It's not 30 character long anyway. So you do the same for everything. You cannot define your your table like this. Why? There's a space here, so you might want to maybe get rid of this space and do something like this. Just get rid of this space like this. Like this. So you can create your schema, your table listing, then you attribute the name of the what's it called, the data type. You then put it there, and then you separate by comma, and then you move on to the next one. For example, let's say I wanted to make everything batch. I'll just copy paste here. This one is more than 30. I could use this as 50. Put a comma. Put a comma. Put a comma here. It's gonna separate this also. So after you've created your database, you use create table, create table, PCF or PFA or something, and then you open your parentheses, you close your parentheses, and then you create the table like this. If I run it, it will work, but if I run this particular one, it will not work now because I have not started my SQL server yet. So if I wanted to start it up, I would have to go through Docker. That's what I'm saying, is different from the type of SQL that we all use. But for you, you just start up your own SQL at the beginning before you even start writing your code, so you don't have to go through this Docker stress and stuff. So if I have my server running and I run this code now, I'm going to create a database, and this is also going to create a table. So after you have created that, the next thing, depending on the type of SQL that you are using, will depend on the type of imports you want to use. For example, I would not expect that you will be using, I wouldn't expect that you'll be manually inserting this record. If you manually insert this record, I can say that you've used like another 2 weeks to insert this record inside the table. So I'm not even going to advise that. Now, let's say that you are using SQL Spark, for example. If you are using SQL Spark, just ensure that you have Spark installed on your system. So this is what Docker looks like. And then I'll have to start up my server. This is my server before this one can work with my database and stuff. So let's say you've created your database, you've created your table. The next thing you want to do now is to load your data set. Of course, I don't expect you to be using insert to be inserting all these records. As much as I know, this one is the smallest. I think it has about 196 rows and 197 including the header. So imagine you're doing that one by one, and then you have this other one that has just one data set, has thousands. You can't do that manually, not if you want to finish before the deadline anyway. So this one has 6,000 records, and I don't expect that you do that yet. If you are using Spark, you'll be able to load it from your Spark environment. Now, if you are using Spark, you are going to be using Anaconda. Let me open up my Anaconda for you. So if you are using Spark, you'll be able to load it. You put the URL of your file. For example, I really wish we all joined at the same time, so we don't have to be updating people at every interval. This could take a while before it comes up. So now, if I'm using for example, I'm not using Windows, but let's say that I'm using Windows right now and I want to get the URL of this data set. So ensure that you create a folder for this project on your system. Maybe you can go on documents, create a folder, you can name it anything. You can say I named my own data analytics and tech. So create a folder for your project, and then for me, I separated with the data sets and then some other files. So for example, now let's say I want to get the URL the URL is the path to something. So this data set now, I want to load this data set, but I don't want to load it. I don't want to do it one by one. I want to load it like all at once inside my SQL. For different SQLs is different. The first one I'm explaining is PySQL, PySpark. So you need to get the URL. The first thing you do, you come and read the documentation of PySpark, how to load. Just type how to load Excel data on PySpark. Do you understand? It will show you. Let me see. It will show you. So all you just have to do is to follow the instruction. Where is the code again? Can you see? You just follow the instruction. But the file that you are working with is not an Excel file. The file that we are working with is not an Excel file. So you need to convert it first. How do you convert? I don't have file here. I have file at the top of my file here. So just say, go to file, click on file, and then click on save as. And then at the moment it's an ODS file, which is the format of the data set we all have. So just come and change it to XLSS. This one. No. XLSS. Just click on this and then save it. No issues. So once it's now saved as an Excel file, you can now go back and then load the data set like this into your database. So into your current working environment using PySpark. Well, I'm explaining for PySpark first. So you create a schema for your PySpark and then you load the Excel. So that way you will not have to worry about what's it called? Loading the files one by one. Optionally, if you are not using PySpark, let's say you are using MS SQL, the one they taught us in class, then what you want to do is to load. There's a load this thing. I don't have the interface here. I would have shown us, but there's a way you can load your this thing. Just do bulk load on SQL. So just do how to load Excel file in MS SQL. So this should help us with that. That's if we are using this particular this second method is if we are using SQL Server. This bulk insert, you'll be able to use it. But if you are using Azure is this one I'm showing us, this particular interface. It also comes with your MS SQL. If you've installed MS SQL on your system, you also have Azure. So you can use this import flat file wizard. I'll show you how it works. So for me now, if let's say this was what I use, but this is not what I use anyway, you can let's remember, go to your database, click on, okay, I'm not connected, it's not going to load. Hold on, let me just connect to this thing once and for all. Before I proceed, anything I've said, does anything sound confusing or whatsoever? So I can clarify before this one comes up. Are we together? I'm scared.
I don't think there's any doubt. I think we can proceed.
Okay, alright. Because I'm scared that you people are Okay, just going to connect to my database. Okay, I'm connected. So if you are using Azure, for example, just click on database, and then the name of the database. I've not created this one yet anyway, so it's not going to be here. Let's say this is crime. Just I forgot to. Oh. Okay, yeah, this one. So just right click on the database, and then you see import wizard. Just click on import wizard, and then it shows you an interface. So the pitfall about using this particular method is that you have to ensure that your column names is saved exactly the same way you have your what's it called, your tables being set up. So now if you say import fat file wizard, so you select the local host, then the table that you want to import into. For example, let's say I want to import into crime, then it will ask me location of the file that you want to import. So you browse. The browse means you go to your system and tell where the file that you want to import is on your system. So my own should go in books and data analytics. Sorry, not this one. Where's the Bolton? Data analytics and data, and then some file like that. But this one is not this one, so I'm just going to pick this one and then load. So it's going to set it up for me, and then all I have to do is to click on next. So what this is going to do is that it's going to check if your data fits into the same way that you have defined your table in your SQL. If it fits in the same way, or you want to create a new column, just say create derived column. So it's going to create all these columns for you, and then you click on done. So if I say this thing, specify transformation, blah blah blah, so you have to create the column, the names here, you put the names there, and then you click on done. So that will import the files for you. So then you can come here, you can see that SQL has automatically picked the data type for me. This one is a varchar, this one is int, this one is varchar, small int, then this other ones. So if you want to pick a primary key, you can go ahead and pick a primary key, but there's no primary key here. So but there's a foreign key, which is this offense code. So you can just select that and then import data. So when you import data, it just automatically loads inside your table. You don't have to do the manual work yourself. But that was not what I did, because I did not use this one to do it. The SQL I use, just like I said, is different from the one they taught us in class. So what I did is that I I wanted to create a relationship between all these tables. Let me show you. I wanted to create a relationship between this first table and this second table. And at the moment, I cannot use primary key on any of the tables. Why? Because they have duplicate entries, which means that I can have one offense occur in maybe the first quarter of the year and then occur in the last quarter of the year. And the pitfall of a primary key is that you cannot have a duplicate. It will not work. It will give you an error. So what I did initially was I created a table for offense key alone, just offense key, and then I created that offense key as a primary key. Then I now created these other ones, this offense key here as a foreign key here. They taught us something about SQL constraints when we were doing SQL constraints. I don't know if they taught us, but I kind of know that before I came to voting. So there's something about SQL constraints. So you can have a foreign key and a primary key. So the first thing I did was I created a table for offense key alone, and then in this other table, which is the reference crime and this other one, I created the offense key as a foreign key. So that way, if I want to join the tables, all I have to do is to use the normal joins they taught us in class, and it will work. So that way I can match the data sets together all at once and it will work. So I've explained how you can create so I've explained how we can create a database. We have 15 minutes. Let me quickly give us another link. I have another link that we can use just in case this one goes off.
Ezekiel, please mute. Ezekiel.
So this is a link.
Okay, yeah.
Just in case this one, once it's 5 minutes, I'd advise that we click on this link so we can move to another link before the whole thing goes off. So what I did was that I created an offense table first, and after creating the offense table, I used the offense key as a primary key, like I've said, and then I now created another table for these two, this one and this one, and then I used offense key as a foreign key. So with that, when I wanted to create my joins, when I wanted to join the tables together, I just use select so and so from first table, join so and so on second table, and I had all the files in just one view. It worked for me. I can show us, but of course it's not useful for us. So that was what I did, and it worked. So with that, I was able to see everything from table 1, everything from table 2 in just one view. When I mean table 2, I mean everything from all of these ones here. I saw everything in just one view. So depending on that does not mean that you have to use the same one I used though. Depending on whichever one works for you, the one that okay, this one is the one I know very well. The one that I used is the one that I know very well, and it works for me. So once you are done creating the database, the next thing you want to do is to now understand what the data is about. So now, if we start this dissecting these data sets, we would see that there are a lot of crimes everywhere. We did not commit the crime, but we are supposed to analyze the crimes. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what does Dr. Pradeep want me to do with this data set? What does Dr. Anchal want me to do with this data set? Look at the data set and write out business questions. Let's say I'm a data analyst now and they bring this kind of data to my office. What do they expect me to do? Some of the things they expect you to do is that, okay, you should probably tell them which region has the highest count of record, maybe in this particular region. They are always having crime is always like rampant there, or which year has like the highest record of crime, or something about maybe how many which crime is very rampant and what time of the year is it very rampant, you know. Then you talk, then create business questions around it. I've just given us like three of the business questions that you can create. So you can create as many as you can. For me, I created like 8 of those business questions, and then I used my SQL joins to get the answers to those questions. So after you have created those business questions, the next thing you want to do is to find answers to those business questions that you've created. So how do you do that? You cannot do that by just using Excel. You could take like forever. So you just go to the SQL that you are using. If the one that you are using is PySpark, you go and join it together with PySpark. If the one that you have used is SQL, this one I'm showing you, if it's that time, then you join it together with it. So for me, the one I used, I just joined it together, and I used the I used the I used the data set to answer the business questions, and then I wrote it down. I wrote my answers down in a separate Word file. So you need to also have a separate Word file where you can be putting all your answers one by one, so that you will not forget the most important part of your data, or the most important part of your analysis. Just write it down. Anything that you find out, okay, I found out that there are missing values here. How many missing values? Okay, I found out that this particular offense is the highest, and this one is the lowest, and this is the time of the year that is the highest, this is the time of the year that is lowest, something like that. You write it down, you document it, so that by the time you go back to your literature review and stuff, those are the points that you are going to be using to back up whatever they've written on literatures on crime and stuff. That's what you are going to be using to back up your claim. So that's the sole point of writing it down. So now, after you are done with basically what you are using your SQL for, is to write business question, because that is the only time that you can have an holistic view of your data set combined together as one. That's the only way you can see your data set as one and be able to see what is not really visible when you are looking at it separately. How many minutes? 10 minutes. So the only time you can see your data together is when you join it together. So you are using your SQL to find out the business question. Now, when you have now found out the business question, the next thing you want to do is to now decide which tool is convenient for you to use. It might be Adobe. If you want to use Adobe, I wouldn't advise that you use it on your system, because it can run very, very slow. But if you know that your system has a fast processing speed, of course you can run Adobe on your system. You can use Hive, you can use MapReduce to get all those things. If you've now gotten your answer, the next thing is to go to machine learning. If you are using Spark, then it's easy for you to apply machine learning algorithm straight. Since you're already using the SQL part of PySpark, you just apply your machine learning to it straight up. But if you are not using PySpark, you might want to use the likes of Hive, MapReduce and stuff. But if you're not using that one, then the last option is Python. So if you are using Python, based on what you've gotten from your business questions, just like I've given you like 3 options, 3 like insight of business question, the next thing you want to do is, how do I solve these business questions using machine learning? Which one do I even want to focus on? Is it the offense group? Is it the PRC? Is it the offense code? Is it, just find out which one. There are different problems that we can solve with this particular data set. We can solve like 8 problems with this particular data set. Now, let me give you maybe 2 of the problems that you can solve. I'm not going to tell you all 8 problems. This is different from the business questions. Like the different machine learning algorithms that we have, we can use it to solve different problems in these crime records. Now let me give you an insight to the kind of problem that you can solve with this. For example, let's say I want to pick offense. I really have interest in this offense group, I want to pick offense group, I'll go and look for machine learning algorithm that supports categorical data. What is categorical data? All these um all these words here, they're categorical because they are not numeric. Is either something is numeric, ordinance, or categorical. So this is, if it's numeric, then it's a number. If it's ordinance, it's yes or no, true or false, male or female, that kind of thing. But if it's categorical, then it's something like this. All this homicide chemical. If I change this to a table now, you'll be able to see the what's it called, the different categories that we have inside this data set. These are the categories that we have. So you can, say you want to use classification, you want to solve a classification problem with your data set, that okay, in this particular region, these are the crimes that are what's it called, common, that's the right word. These are the crimes that are common in this. That is the classification problem I'm trying to explain. These are the crimes that are common in this particular problem. Homicide, vehicle offenses, sexual offenses are what is common in this thing. And then the time of the year that this particular offense is common is maybe January. You tell us when. January to maybe March or something. And then you can back it up with claims of, in 2013, so offense group, as that's a classification problem I'm trying to still give you an insight of. So offense group has said that, gave us a report that so number of offenses were documented in this particular region, and this thing, and then you back it up with some other literatures that have come up in that line. So that's one machine learning algorithm I just talked about, which is classification. Another one you can do is linear regression. So we can also solve a linear regression problem with this data set. So what does this mean? What does linear regression means? You need to turn all of this data set into a number. You need to turn all of this into a number. So what this means is that all these ones that you're seeing, it needs to now be in a number format. So you use a machine learning algorithm, we call it linear regression, to turn to as an algorithm to do this. So how do you do this? What you do is that you encode it. There are different encoding that we have. We have one hot encoding. We have the normal standard scalar. We have get dummy from pandas. You can use any of those. Now, after you have encoded it, the first challenge you are going to face, you will think that your machine learning algorithm has worked. This is, I'm telling you, like the challenge that I faced when I was working on this. Let me see if we have not been cut off. Okay. So we need to click on that link now. If we are together, we need to click on that link now and join the second one, because this particular one is going to end in 4 minutes. Are we together? So we need to click on the second link I shared so that we can continue. Otherwise, this particular one is going to cut off very soon. Are we still together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where is the link you sent?
It's in the group. It's in the group chat. I'm just going to click on it now.
Need to others.
I just dropped it in the group. This one.
Okay.
Can you see the group?
I'm not in the group.
This group now. This chat link here. Can you see my screen? I'm just opening the chat.
Just open the chat and copy the link.
This one, just click on the
Okay.
link. Just click on the link and then it takes you to the other page.
Okay, somebody has shared it already. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, from what we've done so far, do you have any question before I, proceed? We're talking about machine learning. I'm just going to leave here. Please endeavor to join the other link. So we were talking about the machine learning part of the assignment, and I've given us like the first part is the classification. We can use classification problem, and then the second part is I was trying to explain linear regression. So if we wanted to use linear regression, I said that what we'll have to do, the first thing we'd have to do I said So I said the first thing we have to do is to turn all of these data sets into a numeric data. So after we turn, how do we do that? I said we could use one-hot encoding, we could use get dummies from pandas, and this thing. So what I said is that there's a problem with applying the algorithm straight to the data, and this was the challenge I faced when I did it anyway. So if you apply the data set, if you just fit the data set into the algorithm straight, so I said if you just fit into the Okay, so I said if you fit the data set into the algorithm straight, of course it's going to give you a particular value, but the value is going to be overwhelming. I mean, your machine learning algorithm is just going to be like messed up like completely because the values don't actually align. If you look at let me show you something. If you look at the data set, you'll be seeing 3, 5, and then you'll be seeing 2,400, and then you'll be seeing 20,000 also. You can see minus, and then you can see a very big value. So if you run this kind of, you see 80,000 and you're seeing minus. So that means there's something wrong with the data. Like the values are not like, they are not parallel or they are not sequential. So if you run your algorithm on this data, of course you're going to get a value, but the value is going to be so not correct because the numbers in that column, they are not coherent. They are not. They are so far apart. The minimum value is 0. So the minimum value is like minus 57, but the highest value is like 80,000. So that's an outlier. So you need to think about how you want to deal with an outlier. So depending on whichever machine learning algorithm you choose, you are going to have to scale your data. There are different ways you could scale it. You could use standard scaler, you could use min-max, you could use z-score, you could use anyone. That is if you are using Python as your for your machine learning algorithm. I used Python, so that's it. So yes, so you just have to choose anyone will work anyway. The standard scaler is by default, but min max is just going to scale between the minimum value and then the maximum value, and then you have z-score. So you have to scale your data. That is if you want to use linear regression. And then you have other machine learning algorithms like SVM, and then you have what's called regression. We have k-means. K-means is also good for classification problems. So you have to decide what problem you want to solve. All of us cannot solve the same problem. They will know that we all copied each other. So that's why I will not tell you this was the one I used, this is how I use it, this is my code, this is this, because then that means my answer is no longer relevant to me. Then I have to start again. So you all have to choose like the one that you want to work on. So what I would employ us to do now is that if you've not created a schema already, decide which database you want to use. If it's SQL, if it's what's it called? You could also use MongoDB too. Just that the pitfall of using MongoDB is integrating your results with every other thing that we've done. But if anyone that you decide, you need to decide within yourself which one works best for you, because what works for me might not work for everybody. So if you have any challenge in the one that you've now decided to choose, then the answer or your response will now be very specific to yourself. You can always reach out to me. I'm also on Bolton Data Community. So if you want to reach out to me, please just send a text. And if let's say you have been doing something and you feel like, okay, you don't know where you're stuck, you can just send me like a screenshot of what you're doing. Then I can be able to provide solution in that regard. But if you're like explaining to me, like, don't worry, I'm not going to copy your code because I'm already done with that part of my assignment. So I'm not going to copy your code or whatsoever. So yeah, so that's just it anyway. So yeah, if you have any question, feel free to ask me. I can't answer questions on what's it called, the literature part of it. Just like I said, I've not started it, so I can't answer questions in that regard. But if you have other questions you want to ask, please shoot your shot. Waiting to take questions.
The question I would like to ask is concerning the outliers. So I asked a couple of people concerning the outliers how we are going to deal with it. Just like you said, we have outliers for negative values, and then for the ones that are like outrageous figures. So I think the best solution I came up with was to just replace the negative values with 0, and also handle the outrageous figures with was it median or mean? I think mean. But then the issue was that I was having decimal places when I made use of the final data, to answer my SQL queries. So if you check like the sum of the total number of offenses, for a particular whatever you want to filter out, you're getting decimal points, and like you can't say that you have 3.5 or 300.87 offenses. If an offense occurred, it should be in a rounded figure. So in that regard, was there any way the lecturer said we should handle the larger figures, that we are not going to have decimal places in the figure, or we should just leave the outrageous figures and then deal with only the negative values?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question, Ngozi. I'm sure a lot of people also have the same question, that particular one that they wanted to ask. So this question is like, you need to be the one to decide what is best for the data. No one is going to tell you if this is good. You can even decide to even remove all the ones that are, above average. But then that would mean, dealing. What's the right? I'm trying to look for the right word. What's the right word? When you are like removing like important information from your data. That word. I'm trying to look for the right word to replace that. But that would be tampering, exactly. Tampering with the data set, that's the right word. So that would be tampering with the data set, and that is not what you want to do. What you want to do is to
I think it tampered with the integrity of the data, and that's a cause of huge concern because it doesn't really give a proper representation of the data set.
Yeah, exactly. That was why I was trying to explain to you also that you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't remove this thing, and you should not also replace it. You shouldn't replace it with the mean. You shouldn't replace it with the median. You shouldn't replace it with any of those values, any of those methods that you've mentioned. What you want to do is to scale your data, and there are different. Just like I've given us 3 methods we could use: standard, scalar, min, max, and z-score. So what you want to do is to scale it. If you're scaling it, then the machine learning the pattern will be recognized within your data set and the values will be scaled accordingly. So you won't have to be the one that will manually insert value, because you could even be introducing errors to the data set from doing the manual process. But if you're using a scaler to scale up your data, then be sure that that's going to be done correctly. All right, does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Abioye, you want to say something? Abioye, are you there?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
My question is why is it necessary to create a database for the first data set?
Okay. You're trying to match patterns, because from here, of course, you might decide not to.
Okay.
I think I'm sharing my screen right now, right? Can we see my screen? I guess we can.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now this is the first data set, and this is the second data set.
Awesome.
Now, from here,
So,
for me,
wait. Please, how many tables do we have in that data set?
just two tables.
Okay, I thought it's one table.
No, it's two.
Okay.
Depending, it depends on you. Me, I created two tables. You can create. Sorry, I created three tables. You can create as many as you want, but for me, I created three tables.
Okay.
So now, you said, what is this particular one? What's the usefulness of this
Yeah,
particular
why do you
data
have to
set?
create a database for
You
it?
can decide not to create it, and you can decide to create it. Now, the reason I created mine is so I could reference. Now, I want this information also, my offense code description, this thing, so that I can use this new ONS and this other one. Now, the reason I created it is because I'm trying to create a business question around my data. That way, I can say this was by the time I start writing the literature part of my data, I won't have to be going back to this Excel sheet again. I will just be going to the much broader view, which is the SQL part, and I'll be able to draw out conclusions in just one view instead of having to be, surfing between what's called Excel worksheets. Give me 2 seconds to plug my laptop. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, all right.
As well use Hadoop, right?
Yeah, sure. You can use anyone that you feel you're comfortable with. That's why I was trying to give you like different options of SQL that you could use. You can use Adobe, you can use Spark, you can use SQL, you can use anyone. Whichever one works best for you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other question, or anyone wanna ask a question? But a quick one. I know that this is like, maybe it's out of place or something, but I just want to know so that I would know that this is I think whatever we're doing should be impactful. Is there anyone that has not created the database here that is joining us like at the moment and has not created the database? Okay, Chika said he has not created the database. Any other person? Okay. Okay, we have about 5 people here say they've not created the database. Somebody is raising up his hand, and I know that he has created the database. Thank you for raising your hand. So okay, so yeah, we have about 5 people here that have not created the database, have you decided which database you want to create? If you decided which database you want to create, we can quickly um create your you can quickly create it right now, and I can help you, see if um it's in good shape, so you can go ahead and complete your work. Since no one has any question, I'm suggesting. So if you've decided which database you want to create, so just decide which database you want to create, and then you can create it like right now. So have we decided on which database we want to create? If you
Okay.
have, yes.
Yeah, some people are raising up their hands. Do you want to answer questions now or after?
No, it's not a question. It's sorry, it's not the question. Like, it's not like a
Oh,
question. It's like, are there people that in the session that have not created the database? Those are the ones that are raising up their hands.
okay, sorry. I just joined, so I was confused and everything.
Yeah, I understand. So if you raised up your hand, I saw about 5-6 hands up. Like, do you have like a database that you want to create, like a database in your mind that you want to work on? For example, like I've given us different ones. Is it Adobe? Is it PySpark? Is it MS SQL? Is it MongoDB? Do you have anyone in your mind that you want to create? You can raise your hand now. If you have anyone in your mind that you want to create, you can drop it in the. Okay, you want to. I would advise not to use MySQL for some odd reasons. I'd advise not to use MySQL. Chika, I think you should create something else, not MySQL. Now,
Can we use the PySpark so that at least those of us from Bandit's class will know where to even start from?
Yeah, sure. You can use PySpark, but do you have PySpark installed on your system?
Honestly, I don't have. So that's why I'll just say, let me just ask if someone among us that raised his or her hand that has not done database and you have the PySpark installed on your system, you could just use it to like show us. Because I've not even started. I don't even know what to do.
Okay, I hope from this session you have like a sense of direction of this thing. Okay, Chika said he's installing PySpark now. Okay.
At least from the explanation of the data sets we did, at least it's been helpful.
Okay, that's fine. So he said he's installing the PySpark now. So are we all using PySpark? Sorry, it's sounding like PySpark. Okay, are we all using PySpark?
I think we use PySpark. Yes, PySpark. Well, let me not speak for everybody.
Okay.
I think it's PySpark.
Okay, but we are just installing that now. May I ask where you're installing PySpark is actually very important. Are you installing it on your system?
I think PySpark is basically to be installed on the Colab, the Google Colab.
Exactly, that was what I wanted to also say.
Exactly.
That was what I wanted to say, that where is he installing the PySpark? I hope it's not on the system.
It's Google Colab.
So if you want to work on that now, you can go on and open your Google Colab and then create your install your PySpark, and let me know once you have that done. Now, in the meantime, do we have anyone that has gone past database level that is struggling with some other things? I don't know if these hands that are up and for people that are struggling with other things, or it's still database. Laxi, you want to say something? Latif, are you there? Chika, are you here?
Latif.
Sorry, can you say that
I'm
again?
here.
I said, do you have any question that you want to ask? I see that your hands are up. Just asking if you have any question. No question for any one of us. So, are we all still in database or something? Because nobody is asking questions apart from database.
Sorry, why do you advise us not to use my SQL?
By the time you use MySQL, the next thing would be how do you want to import it into the environment that you want to do. Like, it's not just creating the database that is the thing. You want to use that data set for um, analysis also. Alright? Unless of course there are other ways you could do this. Unless you want to use MySQL to create the database and then you want to use the Excel file in your Python environment. That way you can use MySQL. That means you are going to use pandas to import the Excel file. You can use it that way. But if you want to import the file from MySQL, it could be a bit challenging.
Sorry, there is something I'm going. I'm doing. I'm doing here. Like, do you know the main function of Jupyter Notebook?
Yeah, sure. The main function
Yeah.
to run your Python script.
To run my Python script.
Yes, please. You guys are still installing Spice Park.
So, Rukayat,
Yes.
just to confirm again, the Excel format, we're supposed to save it in what, the Excel sheet, sorry, that where
It's
the
in ODS. You are
asset,
supposed to save it in
yes,
Excel format.
that's Excel workbook.
Yes, please.
That's XLSX format.
Yep. Yep. Okay, what's the issues? Hi, where are you downloading it if I may ask? Are you downloading it online or you downloading it on your
Um,
laptop?
see myself.
Sorry, yeah. You said you downloaded it. Where did you
Okay,
download it?
installed. I used Pandas.
Pandas. I would advise that you download it on Google Colab.
Sorry,
I'd advise that you download it on Google Colab.
Google Colab.
Yeah, because of dependency issues.
Colab. Okay. So look at I'm starting out again with the lab. So if I may ask again, I didn't quite hear what you said about the reason why you advised instead of using Anaconda, I should use Colab.
Because of the dependency issues. I don't know how if you've set up your system like well enough, but if you've not, you could run into some challenges there. It's some of the libraries might not work out, might not work.
I'm done. Can I look at it?
Which one?
It's got the Vice Park on Google Colab.
Where have you installed it on your system or on Google Colab?
I have it on both, but I'm using the Google Colab right now.
Okay. Can you try to create a schema for your dataset? Is Juwan here?
Sorry?
Just asking if Juwan is still here.
Yeah, I'm here with you guys.
What time does this session end?
You said?
What time does the session end?
Depending on you, it all depends on you.
Because by another, what's it called? 19 minutes, they're gonna cut us off.
Yeah, it depends on when you want to end the session. Sure.
I don't know, if we don't finish before then, maybe we should continue. You might probably want to send out a message on whatever challenge that we are facing, something.
This is what we do. End it where you can edit it, and we can fix another session. Is that okay by you?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
So we will fix another session probably. Today is Monday, right? Probably on. When are you guys submitting?
I don't even know the date. What are we submitting? Honestly, I think it's January. Is it 15 or 20? I'm not sure. One of the two.
So okay.
15.
January 15. That's next week.
Next week Monday. We can fix another session for Friday. So that everybody can go and do whatever you put them through today. Everybody can go through it and everything. Then by Friday, you should have done a lot. Then we can come back then the little details that remains, we can tidy it up. And anybody that has question can direct it to me, or if they don't have your contact, if they want to ask you directly, they can ask me for your contact. I'll give them. Are you okay with me giving them your contact?
Everybody has my contact. But am I not on what's it called? My contact is on data community now, right?
Alright, so anybody that does not have a contact or does not have a contact can reach out. I'll give you a contact. But if I'm in both in data community, our contact is there also. And guys, don't forget, after the session, send a lot of thank you to our host. She has really done so well by giving part of her time to help us out. Send her thank you messages and appreciate her very well. We are not paying her, she's just doing it out of the kindness of her heart. So do well to reach out and appreciate her very well.
In cash, I beg. They're not going to do appreciation for mouth again. Let me just stop the video now and upload it so I can share the link with us.
Thank you. Mouth appreciation.
Mouth appreciation.
Austin.
What's that?
Look at it.
Anika,